News Oklahoma Fantasy Football Forecast.
We made it. We're here.
Here we are.
We are. A little late. A little later than normal.
A little later than normal, but better the late than never.
No one at home needs to know that.
Nope.
Here we are.
Yep.
Chopping it up.
Winner winners, chicken dinner, except Caden.
Not for me. Not for me.
So Caden loses to downtown Annie
Downtown
Brown.
Annie Brown. I just thought it was downtown. I had no idea until this very evening that it was Annie Brown. Congratulations, Annie Brown.
And
you
there
beat
she
me and you
is.
Deserve it.
Sitting at home, taking care of her child, and beating you in fantasy.
I'm going to say she has more free time on her hands.
Oh.
No, that's no shot. Just saying, she's got the research time, and it's important. It's important, boys, because if I had had the research time, well, maybe I wouldn't have made the mistake of leaving J.K. Dobbins on my bench.
Saw that. Yeah.
Were there stories I missed? Were people saying, hey, you know what? This week,
No.
after neglecting him completely in his debut, this week we're going to pump it to him in the red zone. If I had seen that article, it would have changed things for me greatly.
All I had seen leading into this week about him was that they were expecting to keep ramping him up. Was
There
it
you
going
go.
to be that much? I don't know.
I will put him in my starting lineup this week, and let's just keep doing the ramping him up thing. Let's go from 20 to 40 points. How about that?
Yeah, and you look at the weather. I mean, it was pouring down rain. It was one of those where you just hand it off, keep running, and try not to fumble it 4 times like Trevor Lawrence.
Oh man, see, and we did all that talking him up,
I know.
and
yeah,
and a lot
Happens.
of it, like when you run into a team like that,
yeah, it's pouring down rain.
Bad things happen.
Yeah.
Do 4 fumbles always happen? Not so
Yeah.
much.
I could understand 2 fumbles in the pouring rain. The third one, it's like there's got to be like a red alert going off. Okay, wait.
Yeah.
No more fumbling. Whatever you do, hold it on like it's a baby. You can't let it go. And then you have a chance to go win the game, and you fumble it for the 4th time. Come on, Trevor Lawrence.
You don't think of weather being a factor in September, but that wonky Bears 49ers opener in Chicago and opening weekend was affected, and then obviously over the weekend. I heard today, how about this?
Okay.
Cooper Kupp has more receptions this season than Justin Fields has completed passes.
Yeah, right.
If you went all in on Justin Fields as
Ooh.
your fantasy quarterback,
Not good.
condolences.
Yeah, but if you went all in on Jared Goff, oh my gosh.
That didn't even start that great.
It's
Holy moly, that was something on Sunday.
like something like that's arguably one of the best offenses in football. If the defense could figure it out, that's a good mi-
Yeah.
You
I
know,
think you're probably, I mean, that was
minus
without
all of their
that was
weapons.
without St. Brown.
Right, St. Brown, Swift, both down.
Yeah.
And DJ Chark, who hasn't had a good year, but on paper was supposed to be this big deep threat for them, and obviously Amon-Ra St. Brown has taken a lot of those.
Sure. They
lot of
can
those-
score the points.
Yeah.
How about them Lions?
Yeah, I don't know, though. I would love to see that if the defense was number 1, would they truly be putting up this much offensive power? I just don't know. I think it's more like we absolutely are going to die if we don't, and this is the result of it. I still think Jared Goff is the worst quarterback in the NFL, but now, I mean, I guess Justin Fields is climbing up there. But, I mean, how can you keep denying when you're throwing 4
Did you
touchdowns?
say the worst?
I know.
You don't mean that. That's hyperbolic.
You know what? The guy didn't know which direction the sun rose or set. So I can't get over that. As a meteorologist, I just can't get over it.
And so we talked about
Well, get over it, pal, because I just named Justin Fields. And he's
Look, I'll agree with you. Fields is
he's young.
Fields is probably the worst.
Look, okay. Here's an interesting question that went through my mind when I heard that Justin Fields stat today. If Aaron Rodgers or Tom Brady had been drafted by the Chicago Bears, what kind of bums would they be? I mean,
Yeah.
that is unbelievable.
Yeah.
Even when they won a Super Bowl, the quarterback play wasn't that good.
It's Jim
with
McMahon.
Yeah, I mean, they've never been good.
yeah.
How is that possible?
And it's strange, like their best, like the most recent run that I remember, like after the Rex Grossman
Yes.
run,
They got to the Super Bowl with Rex Grossman.
Yeah. Kyle
was,
Orton
was like right, and Jay Cutler was their quarterback in like an NFC
Put up
championship
some numbers.
or so, and that was like their best quarterback they'd had in who knows.
They've
how
had
long.
offensive head coaches, offensive minds, guys who have figured it out elsewhere. For what it surely the win factors in, right? Has to.
Well, and that field in general is just brutal.
Interesting.
I don't know. It's bad. It's bad. Finally Eckler did go off, and he's not gone off until now. So if you've been patient with Eckler, I mean, it really did.
A lot of thankful managers out there for him finally pulling one together.
I'm still over here doing the gritty with Justin Jefferson and his 31 points.
Yeah, you had a week, man.
Yeah, I mean, then I had paired him with TJ Hawkinson.
Oh, that he just went nuts.
Those two combined were up to like 70 points for me. I mean, that's like everybody else could just flop, but still, your base is at 70, and you still have 10 more players to go. If they get 10 more points each, then you're up to 170 points. I mean, like, you're not asking much. Not asking much at all. In my other league, I was proud of myself because I had Trevor Lawrence. And this is a little bragging moment. I'm just going to do it.
Hey, brag.
I had Trevor Lawrence and Kyler Murray, just like we do in our league. So I feel it's valid. I can bring this up. But I benched Trevor Lawrence because of the weather, and I went with Geno.
Oh,
Geno, baby. Geno.
Yeah, you should brag about that. That's good.
Who starts Geno Smith?
I know you got a brand new iPhone. If my phone was that smart, if my phone was that smart and it has all this information about me and it's all in there cooking and percolating,
right.
It should be able to, on its own, set a special alarm when there's an NFL game in London to let me know.
Right.
Hey, dummy.
Yeah.
You've got play. You need to set a lineup. Hey, Kamara's not playing.
Yeah.
You need to get him out. If my phone was that smart, it would be doing this for me. A little thing to put out there.
I'll say this
into the world.
Fantasy
Somebody
pros,
figure it out. If they do this for you,
they do it for automatic lineup.
Tell me more.
They'll switch it in and out for you. They'll take control over it for you. Yeah,
it's an app that then dominates the apps that I'm working in, or I have to have a Fantasy Pros league.
No, you take over ESPN and it will submit it for you. And
is this how you have the success you have?
No.
Is this how you got Lawrence out of your lineup because of the rain and whatnot?
No, actually, I was working. I worked here Sunday morning, so I was very in tune with everything. I think if I hadn't worked, I probably wouldn't have been that in tune. Hey, I got a question for you all. I've been waiting all day, biting at the bit. I actually showed up today at 1:15, thinking we were recording. The first day I've ever been early, and I'm like, where is there? Oh no, I have to go sit in my weather office.
I was hauling a bed down 3 flights of stairs.
Oof.
Pivot.
Yeah.
Pivot.
So I got this trade offer, and this is Adam. He's in our league right now, but he's also in my other league, and I feel it's a good offer. But I want you to think it's a dynasty league. We have rookie picks. The offer was for my Justin Behold Jefferson. He offered me A.J. Brown, Miles Sanders, and a first-round pick, plus $50 of free agent acquisition budget, which we don't have in our league, but I'm down to 0, so that would have been beneficial for some chumps down the road. What would you have done, Kate? Would you have accepted that?
Tempting, but no, I couldn't part with Jefferson.
Okay.
I don't think. I mean, the way I draft, buddy, what's that first round pick gonna do? I took Eddie Lacy back in the day. I took Jonathan Taylor this year. What do I need with the first round pick? I'm gonna screw that up.
Okay.
No, I'd rather have what I feel like is completely proven production week in, week out from Jefferson. Now A.J. Brown has been something close to that so far this year, but man, the Eagles have been interesting. With not scoring in the second half. Not really believing that. I mean, Hurts is not Aaron Rodgers or Tom Brady or whoever you want to say is just like the purest of pure passers.
Sure.
I don't think he's ever going to be that. And
Correct.
so I'm not so sure that there isn't a defensive adjustment coming around the corner that maybe changes the calculus on the Eagles offense just a little bit. So, yeah, man, I like Jefferson. Now, that said, if his quarterback goes down, or you know what I mean? Like there are things that can happen, or if he gets hurt, right? I mean, you'll be kicking yourself for not doing it. But I love that proven production, no doubt.
So before I throw this your way, I want to let you know that he does have Jamar Chase. So think about that. If I was to trade, he would have Chase and Jefferson.
Oh, I see what you're saying.
On his
if
team,
you were to take that deal,
it's almost like you have that thought in your mind, like, do I need to play defense against this guy down the road?
Yeah.
Like, do I want to allow him to have these two top guys?
Interesting.
For me, I don't think I would, because of the same thing. I'm really I struggle to let go of that proven commodity.
Yeah,
where
right.
I'm like, this is a guy who I can trust to at the very least score what he is like projected. You know,
What if that proven commodity was one Taylor Jonathan? How would you feel about
I would take Jonathan
letting
Taylor.
go? You would.
I would.
You think a big second half is coming?
I don't think in a dynasty league I want Jonathan Taylor. I want JT.
Okay,
I'll
now
give you Greg
that's
Dortch
interesting
for
because
him.
we were talking.
Yeah, right.
We were talking off air about how generally your approach is give me the wide receivers first.
Exactly.
And in a dynasty league, I mentioned Eddie Lacy. I had the number 1 pick in the league I've been in since college years ago when he was a top 2 or 3 player.
Yeah.
And I ended up taking Lacy for whatever reason. I can't remember at the time who would have been up there. And it was the season in which people probably remember this if they remember fantasy. He had probably been a 1,400-yard guy the year before.
Oh, yeah.
And there was he was in the prime of his career. There was no reason to think he was about to drop off.
Right.
And
Hey.
it collapsed. Right, the
Fat
roof
Lacy,
came
yeah.
in immediately. Thank you. And now I'm not saying that's what's happening with Jonathan Taylor this year,
No.
but I'm telling you, having drafted both of those guys first, now with the only number 1 overall picks I've ever had, I'm feeling it for a month now. And here's the bigger point. Running backs do fall off the cliff much sooner in a dynasty league. Why would you ever value a Jonathan Taylor over even a second? I don't want to say second rate because I don't know if I don't know if you catch what I'm saying, but say a top 7 or 8 receiver, not even a top 1 or 2 guy. But wouldn't you rather have a receiver that falls at that level versus the very best running back there is? Because we just know Derrick Henry, in the injury he had, Christian McCaffrey, and the issues that he's had since being the number 1 top guy. It just doesn't last very long for a running back.
I've seen a lot of leagues won though with those top
Sure.
RBs, and I mean Jonathan Taylor's one could get 40 points. He's one could do that. If you looked at his statistics compared year to year
Right.
at the same time frame, they're the exact same points.
Start slow, yeah.
and then finished as RB1. He is a league winner, and would I trade Justin Jefferson for him? That in particular,
Yeah.
I don't know.
Okay, because we could make that happen if you wanted.
That's interesting. I'd have to think about that. I mean, JT's a league winner. I in a dynasty league, especially how young he is. I mean, look at Derrick Henry. He's going to be 28 and still just plopping off yards.
Yep.
So to have that consistency in the RB situation, that would be pretty cool. That's just my opinion.
Now, a lot of injuries, just building up for some guys that people rely on week to week. Javonte Williams out for the season.
That hurts.
That
Yep.
does.
That's a big one. That's our first big one of the year.
Right, yeah. As far as like top guys who are like totally out. Now we've talked before a lot about Tua and just like his sort of progression and this coming into this season and with those weapons. Now he's out. He's not going to play this next week. I'd be surprised if he played the week after that.
Right.
Because I don't think anybody knows the extent of the injury that he had.
Yeah.
Now Teddy Bridgewater comes in, so guy. Just you know what he is exactly.
Yeah.
He's sort of just like 5 to 10 yard passes over and over.
He's going to get your receiver injured. I watched him put DJ Moore in the hospital when he was with Carolina.
Well, that's what he does. It's just it's those guys running across the middle who are just going to get blown up.
Yeah.
Like those old like Wes Welker routes.
Yeah.
People get mashed in the middle of the field.
Although he did have that incredible bomb to Tyreek.
Right. And that's the thing. Like, it is that sort of the perfect combination to where you have a guy who specializes, I guess you could say, in those sort of short passes, and then you have these two just world beaters with speed who are going to take those like quick slants and just fly down the field. Is it worth picking up a Teddy Bridgewater if you either lost Tua or you're just in general, if you're having quarterback issues in your league?
Yeah, not something I would consider with the quarterbacks I have, and I think there are a whole lot of quarterbacks you could have for whom they are going to pump it to Tyreek. I was glad to see when Teddy's had his chance this year, that didn't change, and so there is some value, but is there a ton of value? I'd be surprised.
Right, like for me in our league, like I have a top guy, Justin Herbert.
Yeah.
But then my second quarterback, and I don't have any other quarterbacks outside of Carson Wentz. on my roster.
Well, yeah, when we're talking about that level of guy,
Right.
Yeah.
And so, like,
Carson Wentz does not have Tyreek
right,
to
so,
dump it to.
because
Yeah.
Carson Wentz is either 30 points or he's like 4.
Uh-huh.
So it's really like it's hardly even worth playing a quarterback in that second offensive player
Right.
position.
Yeah. Just
When you're
throwing
dealing with a
receiver,
guy
tight
who
end.
can vary so much.
Good point.
You know, I just made a huge trade tonight. Did we already talk about
Not
that?
yet.
I was gonna ask you literally. So, like I was saying, I spent all day moving,
Yes.
and so I'm getting ready to come here, kind of like getting my stuff together, figuring out where things are.
Yeah.
And my wife, like, sees this trade come in, like, and I got like a notification or whatever, and says, "Is this a good trade? Would you?" Because she's got her own fantasy league that she does, and I was like, "Whoa! Like, this is a lot of moving parts."
Yes.
So explain your trade.
I got to look exactly again who we were dealing with. There were so many people involved. My idea was to partner Tyreek with Justin Jefferson and
It's a good idea.
Have them both go, nuclear. If Justin gets 30, Tyreek gets 30. I mean, that's what I did with
it's a good day.
That's what I did this last week, and it's not going to happen every week. But I think one of them could pop off if the other doesn't.
Right.
So that was my thought, and I felt like I traded a lot of, I can't say that properly. Ancillary, say it correctly.
Ancillary.
Ancillary players. For instance, Cortland Sutton. Let's see, the Jaguars receiver who I can't even. Christian Kirk, traded him. Damian Harris and T.J. Hawkinson. Those 4 for Tyreek.
Huh.
It's a lot.
It's a lot of moving parts.
It's a lot. But you know what? I had another tight end.
So
that
he's got to have a relatively thin team. I mean, because you got to feel like you're going to start those guys if you're him to let go of Tyreek.
Yes. Yeah, his team, he was 0-4. He had to make a desperation move, and I'll take his best player from
Man,
him.
look at you.
And-
Just heartless. Cold.
Well, he's 0-4.
Stealing, fleecing Tyreek from people.
He was playing. I mean, he had Kyle Turpin on the bench. Who's Turpin? The Dallas Cowboys?
Yeah, the Cowboys guy.
Yeah.
He saw him return kicks in the preseason, I think.
I guess. I'm like, dude, what are you doing with Turpin?
He's fair catching things right now.
This guy really
That's
needs Tyreek Hill after scoring the most points.
Yeah,
in the league
yeah,
this
exactly.
past week.
Boy.
So, but I'm
So
hopeful of
glad.
Robio Dubs. So he'll be my flex. I'm optimistic that I can pair those two together, and that was my idea. And nobody's thrown any fit about it. It's a lot of players, but sometimes it works out magnificently. Sometimes it blows up in your face.
No, that's going to work out.
How do you feel about it?
Tyreek and Jefferson is
any
lethal.
slight bit of instant regret
Yeah,
after
a
that,
little
after
regret.
the trade?
A little regret. When I forgot that Tua's out, I'm like, oh my gosh, what am I thinking?
That's right.
I forgot about Tua.
I mean, Tyreek at least he played well with Bridgewater in the little bit of time that they had.
but Bridgie's going to get him killed out there.
Think so?
Oh yeah, I know. I watched when he was with the Panthers. I had DJ Moore, and I was all in DJ, and he threw him this horrific pass that poor DJ went out to get and just annihilate him. He was done the rest of the season. I was like, Bridgewater, I will never get anybody that ever plays for you again.
This is going to be a fun one to revisit if that in fact happens. If
bad.
we have this now documented on video, on audio, the pod in which Mike realized, oh crap, I traded for Tyreek Hill and his quarterback is not Tua at the moment.
That's Mike.
Teddy
that's
ball game.
Come on, no wonder he was so anxious. Yeah, sure, I'll trade. Yeah, give me all your best. Give me 2 top 10 receivers for him. Traylon Burks is out. Turf toe. Turf toe is not good. That is not a good one to have. That can actually linger through your whole career as well. So that's not a good thing to have. It's going to be there all season long. Yes, he's going to put on a special thing on his toe, to keep things in place. But he'll probably have to have off-season surgery as well. Poor Traylon. That's not a good way to start your career.
It's tough. And thankfully, I mean, for the Titans at least, thankfully, Robert Woods, Bobby Trees has been he's been picking it up. Everybody thought coming into that year, like, oh, they're getting who would be their replacement for AJ Brown,
right?
This number one guy, and Robert Woods was Robert Trees.
Robert Trees
was coming off of his own injury from last year that cost him, I think, the whole season last year.
Right.
so it was tough to see how that transition was going to work out. But I have him in a different league, and I started him last week, and he performed pretty well. So it at least looks like they will get some relief, assuming he keeps playing up to what he did the last couple weeks.
You remember AJ when he was with the Titans? He'd always be hurt. I mean, it was like constant. Now he's with the Eagles, hasn't been hurt once.
No,
It's been a month.
I'm starting to wonder. Is something going on with these training staffs?
Eagles got a good one.
You always wonder with some of the training staff, because some in a lot of different sports too, just like they're teams that just deal with like grueling injury,
right?
Like seasons like riddled with injuries.
Yeah.
Like
Detroit.
Well, and that's the thing. You wonder how much of this is like how serious are these? I mean, Swift is always out, like multiple regimes now.
Yeah.
Just constantly out, but. As far as injuries, like being a Detroit guy, in the NBA, the Detroit Pistons for a really long time, like in this little period of horrible play they've had, they were dealing with crazy, like Blake Griffin and Reggie Jackson, like constantly out, injured all the time, and people were like, "What is going on?" And it started to be like, "Oh, well, maybe this training staff is not who we should be keeping around."
I think there's truth to that. I really do. I mean. I think the Detroit Lions are the number one on money that is not playing right now in the NFL. I mean, you got to look at that from a financial aspect. Like, well, what can we change here? And if it's that training staff, yeah, they got to go. They got to go. So going on real quick, Josh Jacobs, has he finally arrived?
Well, he had a heck of a Sunday,
didn't he?
Against a really good defense. It's a great question. I haven't known exactly what to make of Vegas. I've got Waller as my tight end, and they are not targeting him as much as they didn't have in the past. And so
got Adams now,
the offense, no doubt. The offense is changing, but Jacobs will be not necessarily the number one option because that is Adams, but he's going to be right at the center of just about everything. And as long as he's healthy, can. He's without question in his prime. I think a smart, tough, strong kid who, the Raiders should lean on. Let's put it that way. Their offense looked really good on Sunday, and he was such a big part of that. And they threw it to him a fair amount, which is not something that coming into the league he was as natural at as some other guys. So, yeah, he had a really big day. They should pound that rock.
28 carries is, like, especially
pound
now.
Pound that rock. He's a guy who can take it,
Yeah, with how running backs are like people are so careful with them now to give a guy 28 carries.
They needed a win,
especially when he just hasn't had that.
Yeah,
like at least any time recently,
That's right.
Has not been that kind of workhorse. So you'd think if they could keep that a part of their game, that would keep helping them get the ball to Adams as well, because people got to respect that.
Yeah, no question. They are a better offense, I think, if they're feeding Jacobs consistently. And look, the way he ran it, the way the offensive line, it all looked pretty good. I mean, that doesn't look like a 1-3 team, at least not what you think of typically as a 1-3 team. That was the first time I'd seen them in person this year. So, I don't know with the first 3 ball games, but I mean, obviously they were desperate. They were at home. I don't think that was necessarily Denver's best. I mean, they've been a mess offensively, obviously all year long. But
so would you be all in on Josh
should be a better.
Jacobs?
Well,
now, after watching
can he
him?
be? Yeah, I don't know
if he was available, to trade, or would you
trust
be
me
like, hey.
with what I have? Well, here's the thing. I got Taylor and Dobbins as my top 2. It would be tough once Dobbins gets into full swing to feel like, Jacobs is your starter in that situation every single week.
Yeah.
He would be your starter in that situation some weeks, or maybe a guy that you flex depending upon the matchup. But I think he's going to have a really good year if he stays healthy. I do.
So
his best year.
Kenny Pickett has 2 more rushing touchdowns. He's only played a half a game. 2 more rushing touchdowns.
Yeah, that's
than
interesting.
Jonathan Taylor.
The way he ran the ball, and sometimes you get that with rookie quarterbacks, right? Who are more prone to run, sort of have to run because they're not, used to diagnosing the defense as quickly. That's interesting to me. That was, he's going to be the guy, right? Has to be. Surely. Surely he's the guy.
Did you see there was a stat, he's the first quarterback ever to have 13 pass attempts. None of them hit the ground. But
how about that?
He only had 13 pass attempts on the ground, or in the air, but 10 completions, 3 interceptions.
Yeah. I watched that game though.
All of the footballs went to hands.
That's
Yeah.
who totaled that up. Nothing hit the ground. That's incredible.
I did watch that game, and I want to give them a pass on most of those interceptions. They weren't horrible passes like, this guy's a rookie. What the heck? This is what you expect. One was through the hands of a guy, then, it was a little high and he went up and got it and it bounced up again. So, these were not horrific interceptions. Yeah, the very first one was actually up to Claypool, who could have caught it but didn't. So, I'm actually willing to give him a break because the weather, it was pouring down rain. I don't know.
He competed.
He competed. He looked the part.
In a league like ours where you're playing two quarterbacks, if one of yours is on bye and he's just sitting there, a guy to go get on a Sunday, I could see it. Even though the Steelers' offense has been uninspiring in a number of ways. Obviously, maybe they can catch a rhythm. Yeah, absolutely.
Like their receivers are great. They have Najee Harris, who we know is a great running back, and still it's just uninspired. It seems like.
Yeah.
It was a weird game to throw him into with the pouring down rain. Maybe they chalked it up to if he does bad, then we can just say, hey, don't worry, man, the weather sucked. It is what it is. But 10 of 13, yes, those 3 incompletions were interceptions. That sucks. The stats look worse than I think what the reality was.
Yeah, and you never know. Like, he only played a half of football.
Exactly.
So how much better could that be for a full game? You don't know until he does it.
So Kyler went off, which is fantastic. Geno has a tough matchup coming up we're talking about waiver wire pickups real quick. Geno has a tough matchup coming up with New Orleans, but after that, he's got a pretty easy schedule. So if he's out on your waiver wires, my suggestion is go grab Geno.
Yeah.
Way over Teddy B.
That wasn't just facing the Lions defense.
Well, a lot of that was.
Yeah.
Yes. But his
That's how you started the Lions defense.
Bold move, right? Bold move. I have no defense for that. Thought the Seahawks were in tank mode, and not yet.
Geno's at an 80% completion percentage rate.
He can complete them
passes.
High. He can complete them passes. Yeah. No, he's been a guy who could chuck it for as long as he's been around. He used to be a Big 12 guy, West Virginia.
Geno?
Okay, he gave it to OU pretty good a couple times.
And then the Jets drafted him, right?
Yeah. That was a guy that – how high did they draft him?
First round, I think.
It was high, Wasn't he the guy he got – did somebody break his jaw in the locker room, or did he break somebody's jaw? Wasn't that a part of that?
Let that story slip
and then
away
the
from
butt
my
fumbler
memory.
took over
Reckless
him.
speculation. No, Sanchez was first. Yeah. He was before Geno.
I don't know. I'm just making it up now. Sound about right.
As far as those waiver wire pickups, drops, all that, I had picked up in my other league Josh Reynolds because I knew all these Lions guys were going to be out, and he had already been playing well with Amon-Ra in. Like, he had been putting up decent numbers with him in. So picking up him he's not going to be that available at this point, especially after this week. But if he's there, obviously you got to go pick him up.
Sure.
As far as guys to drop, we keep bringing back to Greg Dortch.
Greg Dortch.
Really blew it for me.
Yeah.
And even in a game where the Cardinals' offense was moving, and we had talked about before Murray needing to sort of develop something else because it just doesn't seem to work with that consistently. And he was running, Murray was.
Hold on, going to Dortch and Murray, can I give a pop quiz real quick? Hollywood Brown, what rank is he in PPR and fantasy? Take a guess.
7.
Okay.
I wouldn't have gone that high. 10.
So I wouldn't have gone that high either. I was mind blown when I saw you 6.
How about that?
6 in the NFL. Like, wow, where did that come
Yeah.
from?
He catches he's not like burning people like you're used to, but he's catching a lot of balls.
Yeah.
Sure, he's their only guy. But when DeAndre Hopkins comes back, that will be
right.
And,
and with him coming back, safe to say you can drop Greg Dortch.
Yeah. The Dortcher will fail you. He will fail you. I know we're pressed for time because I do have to go actually record some stuff now, and I know
that's right.
Caden,
same thing.
Yeah,
got to record some things. Morning Sports is coming soon.
So so we'll be back next week as we do. And do you guys have any idea who you're playing next week?
No. No, I haven't focused on that yet.
I usually just check and see if I'm playing you guys. And
Yeah, I was
know-
going to say not you and not you.
Yeah, I know I'm not. So,
Okay.
So
Well,
we will
go
revisit.
Tyreek.
That's
Yeah, that's right.
All right. So Mike Collier, Cade McFarland, Ryan Love. We'll see you again next week.